Good morning, traders. Today is Tuesday, March 15th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Please smash that like button. Give us the thumbs up first thing in the morning. It really helps the channel, and I sure would appreciate it. You got nothing else going on for the next 3 minutes? Might as well push that thumbs up. All right. Well, what are we looking at here in the market? Well, yesterday was pretty bearish, right? Let's zoom out here a little bit. So essentially yesterday we kind of broke a little bit lower. We broke the previous day's low, which is starting kind of a new trend to the downside. So that's a little bit bearish to see. But I also made note of this trend line right here, where we did find support by the end of the day yesterday. And it looks like the overnight dipped below there, but then pulled back above. So to me, this trend line down here is a level of interest. I think if we break this again in the regular trading hours today, we're going to see further downside continuation, probably at the very least to test that overnight low again, but then likely even lower than that. So this trend line is a level of interest to me for support moving into today. So I went ahead and marked that on my chart. It's around 65. And you can see that's where a lot of the overnight volume took place, just above there. So they dipped below, pulled back up, fought a good fight, trying to take it lower once again, and then they ended up pushing it higher. The sellers failed at that level, so that's pretty interesting to me. We're opening inside the previous day's range, which means we're expecting chop this morning. The market is likely to grind up and down for the first half an hour of the day. There may not be any real good like trend type of opportunities. As far as support below the market, obviously it's going to be that big node right there. So that's from about 65 to 75. So there's going to be a lot of support in there. And then above, I'm looking at the area right around yesterday's opening price, which is like 42.02-ish as potential resistance to the upside. We do have a weak reference we left behind at 41.99 yesterday. So that is in need of repair. It would not be unusual to me in that morning chop to head up there and repair that. But then looking for resistance, trying to get back into Friday's range. I guess I should say the overnight range from Sunday night. Trying to get into there is going to be some resistance. So I think we're just going to get some chop for the first half an hour of the day here. The market's going to grind up and down, trying to figure out which direction it wants to go. The overnight inventory is net long, right? We closed yesterday down here around that 65 level, and we're opening all the way up here around that 95 level. So a majority of the participants from that overnight time frame are currently long. Okay, so the probability is they're going to start taking profits when the market opens if they don't immediately get continuation to the upside. So the first order of business is a counter auction to the downside, looking for support. And so begins the chop. So again, we're looking for repair of 41.99, but then resistance just above. A repair means the market will push through it by at least 2 ticks. But once that happens, a weak reference is like a magnet. It's like tugging on the price. But the second it passes through by 2 ticks, the magnet turns off, and there's no more, magnetism pulling the market up anymore, which often leads to it coming back down. Magnetism, is that the right word? You know what I mean. It's also worth noting we left behind a poor low yesterday. That's pretty important. Poor lows have a very high probability of being repaired, meaning the market comes back down and passes 2 ticks below them. It doesn't have to happen immediately, though. So that doesn't mean we have to repair it today, but it is worth keeping in mind that it's down there. So that's one more little magnet pulling it down. All right, well, we got some short covering happening here. Don't FOMO into short covering because it'll turn around and pull back down very quick. But we know it's short covering because of the tempo and the very thin volume. All right, so we got bad taper on both the high and the low, increasing the odds of chop, increasing the odds the market needs to bounce around. Come back down, test the lows, go back up, test the highs. All right, well, we're beginning to get a when what should happens doesn't. We're getting no counter auction to the downside. So that's a little bit bullish to see. We're starting to get new buyers in here. Still think we need to repair this taper on the low, come back down to the opening price and bring in some more volume. But it is interesting to see that we have buyers right away, not just short covering. Good morning, Diego and Chris. Good to see you. Philip is here. Good morning to you. Scooball, welcome. SC, good morning to you. David V in the house. Good to see you. Rev is here. Dean as well. The Knob. Army Tarpons? You gotta be careful, bro. I'm dyslexic. That almost looks like tampons. I could have misspoke there. Ahoy MW. Arthur, good to see you. Welcome. Ronald, attraction? I don't know if attraction would be the right word. I guess in a way. Rocket said he hit the magnet trade with size. Good for you, brother. JG with the GM. Good to see you. Ilhop, resistance here. Yeah, I don't see it as much as resistance as just like chop. We just ran out of those shorts up there. So now we're looking to bring in the new buyers. And they're doing all right so far. They're absorbing that overnight inventory very well. So let's see what happens when they get back down towards the opening price. Repair that taper a little bit. Bring in a little more volume in there. And see if that entices the buyers. Rocket, by the way, how is New York City treating you? It's all right. I've lived in so many places, man. It doesn't really seem that much different to me. The way people always talk about it like it's magic. I've lived in Sydney. I've lived in LA. I've lived in San Francisco. I've lived in Vancouver. I've lived in Auckland. Every city has its charms and its annoyances as well. So I'm a bit indifferent, to be honest with you. But it's cool. Designs Knob saying, don't you fret. Pappy's got a pot of coffee on. You feeling bearish, Knob? Okay, for the Q, I'd be looking for support right around 13,107 as we press into this node of volume and time right in here. And for the ES, the same thing at about 41.88, 87-ish. So we're looking for support now, right in this node here, for continuation of the chop, for continuation of the uncertainty. If it breaks, we're looking at this area down here, around 75 as the next support. Okay. Long liquidation there. All those people that FOMO'd in up here first thing in the morning just realized they were wrong and got out of those trades. The chop continues. Okay, no support there. So the next support we're looking at is 41.75-ish. Lamus, good morning to you. Proc is here. Good to see you. Welcome. SC, since the market opened above the singles from yesterday, do you remove that reference from the chart or keep it? I remove it. Yeah. So if you open above a weak reference that was above price, so it was a magnet to pull price higher, right? To backfill those single prints yesterday when we were down here. But because we opened in the regular trading hours above it, that magnet's immediately turned off. So yeah, I just removed that level. Although I will note, a second ago, we bounced right off of here. It was like boop, 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 boop. And I was ready to say, well, if we do find support here, that would be weak because it would be short-term traders. But that's a totally separate thought process. The repair is no longer necessary. Okay, so NQ's finding some support. Should get a chop back up towards the halfback at 13,145. Man, this market's really moving this morning. Trading Donkey, San Francisco, best and worst. Yeah, well, that's the problem. Every city is like that. There are things about every city you live in that are amazing, and there are things that are terrible. New York City is full of amazing people and culture and restaurants and all these incredible things. But, of course, it smells like garbage everywhere you go. So you got to pick and choose. Amir, why New York? Let's get into that later. Ask me during the private stream. Right now, we're focused on this chop. Where's the market going to find support? Bao Bao says he's feeling bearish and smash the like. Yeah, I'm not quite bearish yet. Like I said, to me, what was very interesting about that daily candle was that both the regular trading hours pop back up above that trend line. So that's the trend from the 24th low to the 9th low. You know, we dipped below there and then pulled back up before closing yesterday, and did it in the overnight as well. So that's I'm not really going to get bearish until we get below that level. But as soon as we break that trend line, I'll look for downside continuation, at the very least towards the overnight low. Seven-mile reach. New Zealand is a damn nice place. Yeah, New Zealand's incredible. And it's not just the landscape. The people there are just fantastic. They're the nicest, most genuine people you'll ever meet. Harry, bearish case? Yeah, like I said, the bearish case is, pushing our way through all this support that's below us. We're expecting chop. We're expecting the market to come back down. Go back and watch the first 5 minutes. It is perfect order of business. This is literally the levels that I marked. And I said we're going to bounce up and down between them. So as long as we're just doing that, what I guessed we would do before the open, it's not going to have any emotional effect on me because I was expecting it, right? I was a little bit off on where the resistance would be to the upside. I didn't expect quite so much short covering, but the principle is still the same, which is that the market is just absorbing the overnight activity, and then new traders are trying to decide where to take the market, and that's what we call chop. So it's a little too early to get bullish or bearish when you don't yet know which of these support or resistance is going to break. I know the tempo is a little bit scary. It's moving very quickly. But this is just chop. This is just uncertainty. First thing in the morning, which is very common, particularly when you open inside the previous day's range and inside the previous day's value area. All right, so now we're heading back up to look for resistance around the halfback, 41.9350. Screwball, I would say the single prints were strong resistance. He's talking about the base of the single prints, strong resistance almost all night long and are now becoming support. Yeah, no, that's a great observation, right? We always want to find support in an area that was previous resistance, right? We could see how hard they kept fighting, pushing, trying to get up there, and then finally, boom, they got up at the end of the morning. So we would expect that's where we're going to push into looking for support. So I think that is an excellent observation. Boss man, good morning to you. Welcome. CCT, Charles, at the moment, do you recommend us to just watch or trade? Well, that depends on your style of trading. It's a great question. For some people, there are traders that only trade the first hour of the day, and they love this. They love this volatility, this tempo. They can't get enough of it. And they're mostly going to be scalpers, right? They're going to be people who take very short trades with a, limited amount of risk. So if that's the type of trader you are, if you can function well in an environment of uncertainty, there is a lot of opportunity in the first hour of the day because you get a lot of movement. The price moves a lot of points up and down. So if you can handle that, then absolutely this should be your moment, right? But I, for example, am exactly the opposite. I don't like trading chop. I don't like getting in a trade when I don't know what the market's doing. For me, I feel a lot more comfortable waiting until I have that certainty and then getting into the trade. Sometimes that means I miss an opportunity. Sometimes the biggest part of a move on a particular day might happen in the first hour of the day. But I prefer the sense of control over that sort of I'm just guessing and just throwing out a trade sort of mentality. So for me, I don't generally trade chop. I wait until, like I said, right at the first thing I said this morning, right? I pointed it out. I said where I saw resistance above, where I saw support below, and when I see a break of that, then I'll see a trade opportunity, right? In between, you're really just guessing because the market could flip and turn at any moment and just chop. But like I said, we got guys in here who do that. Rocket Man, for example, that's his bread and butter. So if it works for you, do it. Do it to it. What chop went down 30 points from the high of the day? It's sitting at the opening price right now. We opened, we pushed 20 points higher, pushed back down, another 10 plus points lower, and now we're going back up to the high again. This is chop. That's the very definition. Everybody who went long up here this morning was wrong. Everybody who went long or went short down here this morning is wrong. And so what's happening is they're just getting screwed. The market's getting itself a little bit too long, and then it's having to come back down. It's getting itself a little bit too short, and it's having to come back up. Because there's no leadership yet. All right, so this was the area that was acting as support this morning with that first push higher. So now the question is, will support become resistance? If so, it's a little bearish. If it gets through it, it's a little bullish. Donkey said buy the pass through the open. Yeah, I wouldn't have bought it as the pass through the open. But I can see why you would take that trade. I would just, if it were me, I'd be worried that we were going to get resistance just right above at that halfback. Coma, good morning to you. Coma, do you think that the ES or the NQ is leading the way most of the time? Can you please explain the correlation between them? Well, the correlation is just the fact that all the stocks that are in the Nasdaq are also in the S&P. So they make up a chunk of, each other. But I don't really think that like one ever really leads the other consistently. It's kind of day by day. Sometimes they're each doing their own thing. Sometimes, the NQ makes a move first and the ES follows. Sometimes vice versa. So I don't really have like a way of looking at it like I always see the NQ leads the ES or whatever. It seems quite random. But one thing that is certain is that when the market is in moments of uncertainty, when it's in moments of indecision, they generally move exactly together, like right now this morning. That is something I have consistently seen. CCT, thanks for the explanation. Perhaps I need to find which works for me. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel right now? You've just watched the market dance up and down in a 50-point range in a half an hour. Were you comfortable? Did you feel confident to take trades? Or were you sitting there feeling like, oh my God, I don't know what to do? It's moving so fast. It's going back and forth. How did you emotionally react to what you were seeing? All right, so we pushed through the resistance, turned it into support. That's a little bit bullish to see. And we're starting to trend those ticks higher, and we're above the zero line, so that's a little bit bullish as well. If you wanted to go long in this support here, you could have a nice tight stop below that halfback. It's hard to guess the probability because we're still in the chop, but it's a good risk reward. Do I think the resistance level will hold or break? I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I would say it's starting to feel a little bit more bullish than bearish. Rocket, big volume, is still on the sidelines. Yeah, volume's a little low today, for sure. Okay, getting some resistance here. Might need to pull back down into this node around 98 one more time to bring in some more buyers and try to poke through that high. Looks like the NQ just got through. Yep. Initial balance to the upside on the Q. Resistance up at about 13,250. Okay, so we're looking for support now back inside this big node of volume. So we want to see the ticks get pushed back above the zero line. Not getting it. The chop continues. Didn't bring in enough buyers. Okay, market's finding support. Going to go take another poke at that high. See if we can get through this time. Rocket the notorious 4205 level. Is it notorious? Yeah, I guess you're right. There's been a lot of trade in this area. You know, it's zooming out. I just saw. Do, 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 do. Could potentially be balancing downward. All right, well, they don't have the buyers, so now we're going to get a pop lower to test this, probably this 4180-ish level, just to squeeze out all those buyers that tried to get in up here, and then give new buyers a chance to step in once again at support. There is still no leadership, at least on the ES. Rocket, I recommend putting up an 89 range chart on the side. Very good for showing ranges. I don't know what an 89 range chart is. But you got me intrigued. I'll write it down and Google it later. Rocket, volume is really building. Which way is the question? I would say the market internals tell us that it's both directions. You got as many buyers as sellers in here. And they're just picking each other's pockets, trying to see who wins. So same as before, as we push back up into this node right around 95, does it become resistance now? That would be a little bit more bearish. But if it's able to push through and come back down and find support, which it did the last time for a little bit, that would be a little more bullish. But we still have indecision. All right, at this point, I am bullish as long as we stay above the halfback, as I think this might have been enough of a pullback to bring in the buyers to try to poke through these highs again. So I'm bullish, but we got to stay above 41.93. If we break that level again, we're just going to get more chop. So either this support holds this time and we break out, or we attempt to break out and fail and pull back down, or not, right? That's the way I see it. The buyers had their chance. They need to go get that breakout now. We got 91 people watching, only 51 likes. If you want to break that A period high, push that thumbs up. The universe is listening. All right, 7 bulls. 7 bulls in the chat. Procky sit on a throne of lies. I liked it and I'm long Qs. Well, the Q looks great. The Q looks stronger than the ES. You're pushing right up into that resistance, but that looks good. Plus, you only got one contract at the high. You certainly need to retest that. There's got to be more than one person willing to do business there. The E period has already filled those single prints. Philip, you may be on the old contract. You should check that. Are you on the March or the June? Okay, poor high here in the B period. The market often pushes away when it creates a poor high like this, but it's not bearish if it does. It's just normal behavior. Looking for support to come back and repair it. But if it does immediately repair it, meaning it gets 2 ticks or 2 TPOs above that A period high, that is more bullish. All right, so the immediate repair is more bullish. And apparently, there were some stops up there. All right, well, the market is one time framing higher, which is bullish. So we're looking for continuation to the upside. It's hard to really guess exactly where the resistance will be because we've had so much trade in here, over the last few weeks. So there's a million different potential support and resistance levels. So yeah, it's kind of like we're one time framing now, kind of just stick with the trend until we get cessation, because I don't have a clear level that I would see as support or resistance. But I do note we still have these weak references at 42.65 we've left behind. So if we're able to get above yesterday's high and come back down and find support, I think that would be a doable trade. But as far as finding resistance in here, it could really happen anywhere. So just monitor the one time framing. As long as each 30-minute time period, the low stays above the previous low, we're likely to keep going, keep pushing higher. And with that, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. And we'll see you here tomorrow morning. If you're in the brigade, let's ride.